the Buddha and the Four Noble Truths. Tien Cong Tran, Ph.D. The Four Noble Truths are always considered the essence of Buddhism. It is the content of the Buddha's first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma. After attaining enlightenment and after taking the decision to teach the Dhamma, the Buddha wondered who could understand the Dhamma, which is profound, hard to understand and subtle. The Buddha told the story, I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Kalama is wise, intelligent, and discerning, he has long had little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to Kalama. He will understand it quickly. Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, Kalama died 7 days ago. I thought, Kalama's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly. I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, Adhakaramaputa is wise, intelligent, and discerning, he has long had little dust in his eyes. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to Adhakaramaputa. He will understand it quickly. Then deities approached me and said, Venerable Sir, Adhakaramaputa died last night. I thought, Adhakaramaputta's loss is a great one. If he had heard this Dhamma, he would have understood it quickly. I considered thus, to whom should I first teach the Dhamma? Who will understand this Dhamma quickly? It then occurred to me, the bhikkhus of the group of 5 who attended upon me while I was engaged in my striving were very helpful. Suppose I taught the Dhamma first to them. Then I thought, where are the bhikkhus of the group of 5 now living? And with the divine eye, which is purified and surpasses the human, I saw that they were living at Benares in the Deer Park at Isapatana. At the age of 29, the Buddha left the house life to go into homelessness. Firstly, I met the famous ascetic Kalama. Kalama reached the base of nothingness, and by his teaching the Buddha also reached the base of nothingness, but not Nibbana. The Buddha left Kalama and met another famous recluse Adhakaramaputa. Adhakaramaputa reached the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and by his teaching the Buddha also reached the base of neither perception nor non-perception, but not Nibbana. The Buddha left Adhakaramaputa. He wandered and finally reached Uruvela, next to the river Naranjara at Gaya. Here there were quiet and dense groves, with a clear river and a village nearby where he could get his alms from simple folk. It was a suitable place to his quest of enlightenment. At that time there was a belief in India that only rigorous self-mortification lead to purification and deliverance, Nibbana. The Buddha decided to test the truth of it. 5 other ascetics joined him. They were Kodo, Bhattaya, Vappa, Mahanama and Asaji. After 6 years of self-mortification, the Buddha reached the doors of death. His body became a skeleton with thin skin. Even with that way his goal was still out of sight. Then he recalled a time when he was young, his father was working and he was sitting in the shade of a rose apple tree. He entered upon an abode in the first absorption, Jhana. So, it is not self-mortification that leads to purification and deliverance of mind, Nibbana. Thinking so, he abandoned self-torture and extreme fasting and took normal food again. He recovered his former health. Now his 5 companions left him, for they thought that he had given up the effort and had resumed a life of abundance. He continued to meditate. One day a daughter of a rich householder offered milk rice to him. After taking his meal, he sat cross-legged under a tree, which later became known as the Bodhi tree, the tree of enlightenment or the tree of wisdom. That day he attained perfect enlightenment. Chapter 1. The Noble Truth of Suffering. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Union with the unloved is suffering, separation from the loved is suffering, not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, the five aggregates subject to clinging are suffering." We have talked about individual suffering. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, sickness is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Union with the unloved is suffering, separation with the loved is suffering, not to get what one wants is suffering. We have also talked about social suffering, telling lies, thief and robbery, verbal dispute, fight by weapons, war, sexual misconduct. In brief, the five aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. Suffering resides in the five aggregates or the six bases that constitute man. Form is suffering, feeling is suffering, perception is suffering, formations are suffering and consciousness is suffering. Eye is suffering, ear is suffering, nose is suffering, tongue is suffering, body is suffering and mind is suffering. Form is suffering, sound is suffering, smell is suffering, taste is suffering, tangibles are suffering, and ideas are suffering. In the perspective of the recurrent round through numerous lives, suffering is countlessly accumulated. Bhikkhus, this recurrent round, sasra, is without discoverable beginning. A first point is not discerned of beings roaming and wandering on, hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. What do you think, bhikkhus, which is more, the stream of tears that you have shed as you roamed and wandered on through this long course, weeping and wailing because of being united with the disagreeable and separated from the agreeable, this or the ocean of water in the four great oceans? As we understand the Dhamma taught by the Blessed One, Venerable Sir, the stream of tears that we have shed as we roamed and wandered through this long course, weeping and wailing because of being united with the disagreeable and separated from the agreeable, this alone is more than the water in the four great oceans. Good, good, bhikkhus. It is good that you understand the Dhamma taught by me in such a way. The stream of tears that you have shed as you roamed and wandered through this long course, weeping and wailing because of being united with the disagreeable and separated from the agreeable, this alone is more than the water in the four great oceans. For a long time, bhikkhus, you have experienced the death of a mother, as you have experienced this, weeping and wailing, because of being united with the disagreeable and separated from the agreeable, this alone is more than the water in the four great oceans. For a long time, bhikkhus, you have experienced the death of a father, the death of a brother, the death of a sister, the death of a son, the death of a daughter, the loss of relatives, the loss of wealth, loss through illness, as you have experienced this, weeping and wailing, because of being united with the disagreeable and separated from the agreeable, the stream of tears that you have shed is more than the water in the four great oceans. For what reason? Because bhikkhus, this recurrent round is without discoverable beginning, it is enough to experience revulsion towards all formations, enough to become dispassionate towards them, enough to be liberated from them. The life with the five aggregates is the life with the material shore. But the material world has a lot of pleasures. Their presence is undeniable. How could the Buddha say that the world of the five aggregates is suffering? In numerous places in the discourses of the Buddha there is this typical passage. The Buddha asked, Bhikkhus is form or feeling, perception, formations, consciousness, permanent or impermanent. The Bhikkhus replied, form, or feeling, perception, formations, consciousness, is impermanent. The Buddha asked, what is impermanent is suffering or joyful? The Bhikkhus replied, it is suffering, Venerable Sir. So, impermanence comes with suffering. Someone explains that the Pali word dukkha, suffering, implies the meaning of impermanence. Reading the dialogue between the Buddha and the Bhikkhus, we can come to the conclusion that there is a relationship or a link between impermanence and suffering. We can explain further that, 1. Because it is impermanent, an aggregate does not respond to the wish of a perpetual joy in man, it is joyful, but this joy will fade away, only joy on the other shore is perpetual. 2. Being impermanent, joy of an aggregate can change into suffering, while joy on the other shore never changes into suffering. 3. Joy of the five aggregates is far below joy of the liberation from the worldly life. So, suffering plus such a joy of the five aggregates is still suffering in comparison to happiness the Buddha experienced when he had reached the other shore. The Buddha said in his first discourse setting in motion the wheel of the Dhamma, this is the truth of suffering. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering has been fully understood. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. An ordinary person can see in this life all kinds of suffering as aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, union with the unloved, separation with the loved, and not to get what one wants or as telling lies, thief and robbery, verbal dispute, fight by weapons, war, sexual misconduct. Why could the Buddha say, what was suffering so that it was unheard before? Of course, it was not so. If it was not so, what things were unheard before? The difference between the Buddha and others lies in this point. Others think that, even there is suffering in the five aggregates, people can find happiness in them. For the Buddha, such a thing cannot happen. So, seeking happiness in the five aggregates is ignorance. That is the Dhamma that was unheard before. However, people can say that it is not ignorance, for the five aggregates are all reality, and even if there is suffering in them, we must accept it, there is no way out of it in this life. Therefore, the Buddha's Dhamma resides in something else. The Buddha saw the other shore beyond the five aggregates is happiness. So, there is a way out of suffering in this life. The Buddha saw two shores, the shore of the five aggregates or the material shore is the shore of suffering, and the other shore or the immaterial shore is the shore of happiness or nibbana. In other words, the Buddha saw the twofold. For the Buddha, the twofold was the Dhamma that had been unheard previously. Wisdom or enlightenment is direct knowledge of it. We should repeat that nibbana, the other shore, exists in Hinduism, but for the Buddha it is not true nibbana. For what reason? Because this nibbana is thought from the material shore. It is the material shore under another image. Therefore clinging to it also leads to suffering. Chapter 2. The Noble Truth of the Origin of Suffering. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, now this, Bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the origin of suffering, it is the craving that leads to renewal of existence, being, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there, in other words, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for non-existence. The Buddha saw this world is suffering. Suffering resides in the five aggregates or in man. But why is there suffering? What is the origin, the cause of suffering? The Buddha saw it is craving. 1. Why is there craving? Why is there craving? Because there is pleasure. Why is there pleasure? The contact between the six bases and their objects brings pleasure. There are pleasurable form, pleasurable sound, good smell, sweet taste, soft tangibles, and joyful ideas. The Buddha said in the Noble Search, Bhikkhus, there are these 5 chords of sensual pleasure. What are the 5? Forms cognizable by the eye that are wished for, desired, agreeable and likable, connected with sensual desire, and provocative of lust. Sounds cognizable by the ear, odors cognizable by the nose, flavors cognizable by the tongue, tangibles cognizable by the body that are wished for, desired, agreeable, and likable, connected with sensual desire, and provocative of lust. These are the 5 chords of sensual pleasure. Even though there is suffering in this world, but because there is also pleasure, people cling to it, especially when they do not see any other joy. The most evident pleasures of this world are gambling, drinking, and eating, sex and smoking. The most attractions of this world are love, money, and fame. The Buddha continued in the Noble Search, as to those recluses and Brahmins who are tied to these 5 chords of sensual pleasure, infatuated with them and utterly committed to them, and who use them without seeing the danger in them or understanding the escape from them, it may be understood of them, they have met with calamity, met with disaster, the evil one may do with them as he likes. Suppose a forest deer who was bound lay down on a heap of snares, it may be understood of him, he has met with calamity, met with disaster, the hunter can do with him as he likes, and when the hunter comes, he cannot go where he wants. With pleasure as condition arises craving. With craving as condition arises suffering. However, the contact leads not only to pleasure. There is pleasant feeling, but there are also unpleasant feeling and indifferent, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, feeling. Do unpleasant feeling and indifferent feeling lead to the escape from this world? The unpleasant feeling is not victorious over the pleasant one. When people have not known the holy joy of the other shore, they do not abandon this shore. The unpleasant feeling causes hatred. With hatred as a condition arise unwholesome thought, unwholesome speech, and unwholesome action. This kind of abandoning this shore is a way of clinging. The different feeling not only does not destroy the pleasant one but also consolidates it, it does not lead to the escape from the pleasant feeling. Indifferent means that this shore is not dangerous. Indifference is dominated by ignorance, ignorance that this shore is an ocean of suffering. The unpleasant feeling and the indifferent feeling do not lead to the deliverance from craving. Craving is always the cause of clinging to this shore. 2 kinds of craving. The Buddha distinguished 3 kinds of craving: craving for sensual pleasure, craving for existence, and craving for non-existence. Craving for sensual pleasure. Craving for sensual pleasure is craving for the world of the 5 sensual chords, the form of the eye, the sound of the ear, the smell of the nose, the taste of the tongue and the tangibles of the body, because they are pleasurable, likable, desirable, attractive. Craving for existence. Craving for existence indicates craving for a world that exists after death. We wish after death we would live in another world. This is the metaphysical world of Hinduism. Craving for non-existence. Craving for non-existence indicates craving for the non-existence of a world after death. We wish after death we would not live in another world. Death is the end. This is the view of annihilationism in Hinduism. 3. Craving, origin of rebirth and suffering. Craving is accompanied with clinging earnestly to this or that. Craving is craving for the life of the 5 aggregates. Rebirth is to be born again into this shore, including the world of Hinduism. The reason why there is rebirth is that people crave for this shore. Therefore, craving is the cause of rebirth. Because the life in the world of the 5 aggregates is an ocean of suffering and rebirth means returning to this world, craving is also the origin of suffering. 4. The danger of craving. Craving leads to clinging to the material shore. Clinging to material shore leads to individual and social sufferings and false, ephemeral, and low pleasures. We have just said that the origin of craving is pleasurable feeling. However, the deep origin of craving is ignorance. Because of ignorance, people seek sensual pleasures on this shore. But indeed, this shore is an ocean of suffering. Common men do not see so, but the wise, sage, do. Whoever sees thus is a Tathagata. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "This is the truth of the origin of suffering." Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be abandoned. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the origin of suffering has been abandoned. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. It seems the Buddha said that craving is the origin of suffering and knowledge of that belongs to things unheard before. There arose in the Buddha vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. But indeed, that craving is the origin of suffering is what many people know, not only the Buddha. Therefore, if the Buddha's knowledge wants to belong to things unheard before, it must be a complete and certain knowledge and be supported by the escape from suffering, by reaching the other shore. In other words, that knowledge must be founded on the twofold. For the Buddha, the twofold was the Dhamma that had been unheard previously. Wisdom or enlightenment is direct knowledge of it. Chapter 3. The Noble Truth of the Cessation of Suffering. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "Now this, Bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it. Life is an ocean of suffering. Suffering is present in man. In the perspective of the 5 aggregates, man is composed of form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness. In the perspective of the 6 bases, man is composed of eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. In the perspective of the 4 great elements, man is composed of earth, water, fire, and air. In the perspective of the metaphysical world of Hinduism, man is composed of gods, Pajapati, Brahma, the gods of streaming radiance, the gods of refulgent glory, the gods of great fruit, the Overlord. Man cannot escape from suffering because he clings to the 5 aggregates, he clings to the 5 aggregates because of craving. So craving is the origin of suffering. If craving is the origin of suffering, how can the cessation of suffering happen? The answer is easy, to abandon craving. But how can the abandoning of craving happen? Man can abandon craving only when he sees the twofold. Seeing the twofold is, 1. Seeing that this shore is not total reality, for there is the other shore, and 2. Seeing that this shore is suffering and the other shore is nibbana. 1. This shore, not total reality. Form, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness are man in his relation to the material world, including material and what is thought from material. For common men, man is composed of the 5 aggregates alone, and the 5 aggregates are total reality. Besides the 5 aggregates there is nothing else. The reason why man craves for and does not abandon the 5 aggregates is that he does not know the truth. When the Buddha was enlightened, he saw the truth. So, what is this truth? It is that besides this shore there is the other shore. So, the 5 aggregates are not total reality. But if the Buddha saw the other shore, what importance does the other shore have? To this shore, the ocean of suffering, and the other shore, nibbana. The Buddha saw 2 shores, this shore is suffering, the other shore is nibbana. Nibbana means, at the same time, the cessation of suffering and equanimity, bliss. The importance of the other shore lies in the fact that it is nibbana. But for what reason is the other shore nibbana? The Buddha experienced that the other shore is nibbana. And he tried to lead us to that experience. Therefore, speaking according to the 5 aggregates, form is not self, feeling is not self, perception is not self, formations are not the self, and consciousness is not self. Speaking according to the 6 bases, the eye and form are not self, the ear and sound are not self, the nose and smell are not self, the tongue and taste are not self, the body and tangibles are not self, and mind and ideas are not self. Speaking according to the 4 great elements, earth is not self, water is not self, fire is not self, and air is not self. Speaking according to the metaphysical world of Hinduism, gods are not self, Pajapati is not self, Brahma is not self, the gods of streaming radiance are not self, the gods of refulgent glory are not self, the gods of great fruit are not self, the overlord is not self. Moreover, all those are impermanent and suffering. We are not stupid to accept them as ours, our self. 3. Nibbana and the essence of man. The 5 aggregates do not constitute the essence of man, and nibbana constitutes the essence of man. On what foundation is that said? The 5 aggregates are suffering and nibbana is happiness. So, basing on the criterion of happiness, the Buddha determined the essence of man. What brings happiness constitutes the essence of man. The essence of man is what brings him happiness. So, the question is not the question of, bare, reality but of happiness. The 5 aggregates bring suffering, and thus they do not constitute the essence of man, and nibbana brings happiness, and thus it constitutes the essence of man. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "This is the truth of the cessation of suffering." Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the cessation of suffering is to be realized. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the cessation of suffering has been realized. Thus, Bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. The noble truth of the cessation is to be realized and has been realized by the Buddha. And the Buddha has realized it because he saw the twofold. For the Buddha, the twofold was the Dhamma that had been unheard previously. Wisdom or enlightenment is direct knowledge of it. Chapter 4. The noble truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. It is the noble eightfold path, that is, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration." Craving leads to clinging to the five aggregates. Clinging to the five aggregates is the origin of suffering. So, abandoning craving, abandoning clinging to the five aggregates is the cessation of suffering. But for men, how can they abandon craving, abandon clinging to the five aggregates? To do that, they must see reality that the Buddha saw. The Buddha saw that people, because of ignorance, cling to the five aggregates. This is sickness. The Buddha wanted to cure this sickness. He gave medicine. This medicine is the Noble Eightfold Path, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness and right concentration. This medicine stops craving and clinging to this shore and leads to the other shore. This medicine leads to vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge of the other shore. In his first sermon setting in the motion the wheel of the Dhamma, the Buddha said, "This is the truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light." This noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering is to be developed. Thus, bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering has been developed. Thus, bhikkhus, regarding things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. The noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering is to be developed and was developed by the Buddha. The Noble Eightfold Path leads people from this shore to the other shore. Thus, the Noble Eightfold Path leads to the knowledge of the twofold. For the Buddha, the twofold was the Dhamma that had been unheard previously. Wisdom or enlightenment is direct knowledge of it.